Moving on to the ugliest game of the year was St Kilda v North Melbourne. There was nothing apart from Philippo's mark to take from it. And I want to look at North Melbourne and their issues. So they've been scored against so badly this year under Alistair Clarkson. It was probably the one area we thought they would improve, not being scored against. Have they? The only thing they've got to salvage now is it that they...
What do you do?
Close the... Well, not many people are going to want to come and watch them, Kane, if they're kicking 4 goals a week. But if they try and be bold with their zones and that, they get 25 goals kicked against them. So they're in a really tough position. I'm not sure which way he goes, apart from sticking with his team defence strategy that's just opening him up week after week.
Well, there's parallel stories going on here, and certainly if it was this time last year and the record was the record you just showed, I think it's... And there we are. I think we'd be calling for the coach's head, except it's Alistair Clarkson. And the parallel situation is, like Chris Fagan, he's coaching with one arm behind his back. I mean, I think he's really struggling now. He's struggling as a result of this investigation that Hawthorn lost control of early. And frankly, Craig, the AFL seems to have now lost control of.
Is that affecting his coaching performance?
Oh, it's affecting the psyche of everyone involved in this investigation. And clearly, the two biggest names involved are Alistair Clarkson and Chris Fagan. And we'll have a look at what he said the other night.
We've got a football side that we need to coach and a job that we need to do, and we'll just deal with the investigation when it pops up. But you know, we're now nearing 7.5 or 8 months, and we still haven't had an opportunity to sit in front of them, which is extraordinary, really. 8 months. So we're looking forward to the day that we get that chance.
And this is Chris Fagan, who put out a statement yesterday which showed...
It meant business's statement too, didn't it?
It did. I mean, he went into the game against the Bulldogs, against Carlton on Friday night, having read an article in the Herald Sun that revealed an 18 list of demands coming from the complainants. Now, this had clearly been leaked to the Herald Sun, perfectly fine by them. He hadn't been contacted as part of the story. It had been written earlier that week in the Herald Sun, I think, that he wasn't going to go to mediation. He's absolutely shattered, Chris Fagan. Alistair Clarkson's shattered. It's become a lawyer's picnic. And Gillon McLachlan, look, it was brilliant, gather round. It was brilliant, the Tasmanian deal. If he's going to stick around, if he wants to stick around to the end of the year, he's got one job. And that job is to find a deal that is acceptable to both parties. I don't know what that deal is.
Should it be a deal? Or should it be a finding?
I think it needs to be resolved. I mean, I think it's got to the point where the coaches would honestly be happy to go to court and have their day in court because they're adamant they've done nothing wrong.
Who's running this investigation, though? Like, who's the driving force?
Independent panel put together by the AFL, Craig. I mean, the AFL oversaw it.
But he hasn't been interviewed, Caro.
No.
8 months. And he's been waiting for his chance to talk.
And Luke Hodge and Lance Franklin and Jared Ruffhead, I think Sean Burgoyne, I think they've all been interviewed. But the Hawthorn, the two current coaches...
And mediation?
Well, I think they would go to mediation if the circumstances were right. But I think the complainants want a safe place. I think that the coaches feel a bit uncomfortable about that. I don't know this for sure, but
So they can't agree on where to have the mediation?
No. And there's also... And then, you know, is Chris Fagan, to be frank, partly collateral damage? I keep using that word, but for this dreadful relationship that is so deteriorated between a 4-time premiership coach and his old club. There are people at Hawthorn, senior people, saying, oh, Alistair will come to the reunion this year. There's no way he'll go to an official club
Destroying
function.
people, this is Hutch. It's a number one, you're spot on, number one job for the AFL.
It's all Gillon has to do. And I'm told Gillon McLachlan is now turned his mind. I mean, not that he was ignoring it.
Christmas was the deadline, wasn't it?
This is crystallising his entire focus, and he needs to, with Andrew Dillon, they need to get onto this.